Good day, boxing fans. Can Swedish heavyweight Otto Wallin follow in the footsteps of his countryman so many years ago, Ingemar Johansson, and one day become the heavyweight champion of the world? If he wants to keep that dream alive, he is going to have to upset former champion Anthony Joshua in Saudi Arabia this weekend. Can he do it? Well, stick around and let's break down the fight. Anthony Joshua is a big modern-sized heavyweight. He's got a big punch and he's got good boxing skills. But he's also a vulnerable fighter, as we've seen in his stoppage loss to Andy Ruiz and these 2 points defeats against Alexander Usyk. How vulnerable is he? Now, I've had the privilege of meeting Lennox Lewis a while back. He was here in South Africa. We had a nice experience. We got to chatting and the conversation meandered towards Anthony Joshua. And the point was that Lennox was making to me, every fighter has some sort of weakness. And he made the point also about how good Evander Holyfield was in his day of finding a fighter's weakness. And it moved to Anthony Joshua, and we had a conversation. What is Anthony Joshua's weaknesses? And I said, well, if you make him fight at a high pace that he's not comfortable with, he will sort of gas in the last rounds. Lennox agreed with that. And he asked me what else. I says, well, he doesn't take a punch well. And Lennox said something more specific than that. And Lennox Lewis made the point to me, Anthony Joshua doesn't take a temple shot well. If you hit him here, and if you look at the Andy Ruiz fight, that's where he got it, then that is what will make him wobble, what will hurt him. Hence, he fights in that peekaboo stance these days. Now, that's the weakness of Anthony Joshua, or a couple of weaknesses, but people tend to look too much towards those weaknesses, in my opinion. I think they give Anthony Joshua a bit too much of a hard time. He still has probably the best resume out there of any heavyweight, arguably. There'll be some arguments to that, but he's fought some top guys, and if you fight the best, sometimes you don't win. And what Anthony Joshua does have is he's got good boxing skills. The only one in the heavyweight division, I think, who's got better boxing skills is Alexander Usyk, obviously, and Tyson Fury has got more of a fluid awkwardness that Joshua doesn't have. But aside from that, I don't think there's anybody that trumps him in the skill department, and he can hit as hard as any other heavyweight out there. If you look at his record, in his 26 wins, 23 of them ended by way of knockout against his 3 losses. Now, Otto Wallin is 26-1. What worries me about Otto Wallin, his reputation hinges to me a little bit too much on his one loss to Tyson Fury, where he performed way better than anybody expected, cut Fury very badly, and he lost on points. Now, since then, he's been on a 6-fight win streak with decent-ish wins. You know, there was a win over Dominic Breazeale, a sort of a lower tier contender. And then there was, in his last fight, a split decision win over the former cruiserweight champion Murat Gassiev. Now, against Gassiev, he played it safe. He circled away from Gassiev. Wallin, we should also mention, is a southpaw. And he just used these little peppering jabs to keep Gassiev from getting into a rhythm, and now and then hit him with a second hand. It wasn't exciting stuff, but he sneaked a split decision win that way. Now, Gassiev, I know, was a beast at cruiserweight, but he's not really a beast at heavyweight. Hey, he's small for heavyweight. And Wallin was wary of Gassiev's power, and he played it safe. Now, if he was so wary and careful against Gassiev, how is he going to be against Anthony Joshua? Because against Anthony Joshua, Wallin only has 14 knockouts in his 26 outings. He's not a big puncher. He's a good boxer. He's a good all-round boxer. He's got art. He's got a good chin, I think. But I don't think he's anything very special about Otto Wallin except for his southpaw stance, maybe. He hasn't got that quick hands that Andy Ruiz has in the mid-range. He hasn't got the big power. And I wonder if that's going to be enough to get over the hill against Anthony Joshua, much like Jermaine Franklin, who hasn't got the big power but a good chin and fair all-round boxing skills. Wasn't enough to get him over the hill against Anthony Joshua, and he lost on points. So I have to wonder, you know, I would say if I'm Otto Wallin, use that southpaw style, try and catch Anthony Joshua with with a straight lefts like Usyk could do several times during a fight, and try and hit it with a bit of a curve that you hit him here on the side of the head and see what happens. But I don't think Wallin's mentality is that of seek and destroy. I don't think he's going to roll the dice. I think he's going to play it strategic. He's going to play it careful, and he's going to try and sneak a decision against Anthony Joshua. And I wonder if that is going to be possible, because everybody wants to have Joshua in the end fighting Wilder, who's also on the card. So my feeling of it, Anthony Joshua these days a much more careful fighter, a much more cerebral fighter. He is careful not to gas himself out so he paces himself very carefully, and he's a little bit safety first, much like Vladimir Klitschko became after his few losses, and we all know how well it went eventually for Vladimir Klitschko. But I think Anthony Joshua, as we could see in his fight against Robert Helenius, he was very, very careful there not to get hit by anything with Helenius, because Helenius really only at this stage of his career has got that punch, not too much else. And then when he lined him up for that right hand, boom, it was good night for Helenius. I think Otto Wallin is going to be harder to line up. I think he's going to be a bit more sturdy than Helenius, and I think Joshua is not going to press the issue too much. I think you'll establish control. He's got they're very even in terms of height and reach, but Joshua's got a slight edge. I think he's going to establish his jab. He's going to land the harder shots. He might go and throw a combination at some stage. My gut feel is, I won't be surprised if he knocks out Wallin, because he can punch, but my gut feel is Wallin's going to survive a combination or two, and Joshua's not going to press that issue further in fear of gassing himself out, and he's just going to settle on a boxing rhythm. So I think Anthony Joshua is going to win a unanimous points decision over Otto Wallin in a sort of tactical, maybe a bit of a boring fight, just to get over the mark and get to that Deontay Wilder fight, if we will in fact see it. We know how bad heavyweights boxing has been as of late in terms of fights getting made. So that's my opinion. Guys, tell me in the comment section, who do you have winning, Anthony Joshua, or can Otto Wallin spring up an upset? I would like to talk to you like I always do. And also please punch that like button and share the content among your boxing friends. So that's what I think I'm riding of Anthony Joshua in the main event. I'll break down the rest of this mammoth card in separate videos. And until I see you guys again, remember to keep those hands up.